Good. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Harold Paredes Frigolet. I am a research associate here at the OAI, and it will be my pleasure today to introduce Ricardo Baeza-Yates today. I've known Ricardo for almost 15 years now. Ricardo is one of the leading experts in the area of information retrieval. He did his master's degree and engineering diploma at the University of Chile, the computer science department. He went on to get his PhD from the University of Waterloo in 1989, if I remember correctly. He's been a member of faculty at the University of Chile Computer Science Department for almost 17 years now. And he recently became Director of Web Mining at Yahoo Research. And the topic today is the power of social media, which is one of the hottest topics in the online advertising space today, not only at Yahoo, but in general. So, Ricardo, the audience is all yours.
Okay, thank you. I have a microphone. So I would like to thank the invitation of Bill and Harold to give this talk. Second, I would say that the correct pronunciation of my second surname is Yates. It's an English surname. It's very popular north of here, near Wales, I think. How many of you are computer scientists? Okay, so I guess it's right. I mean, I will be not too technical, but I will try to get the concepts right, and then that will be the focus of the presentation. So I will cover a little bit the internet and how we see the internet. So when I say I'm talking about Yahoo. Then social media. So Yahoo is focusing on social media today. Then I will talk about social search. Then how the problems in social search can be tackled in research. And in particular, my research topics related to the wisdom of the crowds. How many read that book? Good, 3, 4, 5, okay. And a little bit about the future. So this conference will be like the web. So a lot of information, very fast pace. So you have to be ready, okay? Can you see on the back, okay, good. Will you see? So what about the internet and the web? So for example, there are many different estimations on how many people access the web, from 1 to 2.5 billion. I believe it's closer to more to 1 than to 2.5 billion. That's a lot of people. And there's estimation that in 8 more years, we will have 5 billion people connected to the web. I mean, especially in China, India, and other large countries. Part of that will be through mobile phones. So today it's 1.8 billion mobile phones. That, I think, is more than the people that have access to the web. But in the future, maybe 20% of that will use the internet through mobile phones. In the last 5-6 years, the internet traffic has increased 20 times. So from year 2000 to today. And today, according to the Netcraft survey, I mean, today, where we speak, I mean, a new web server is appearing. There are 110 million web servers. So only 2 months ago, we broke the 100 million barrier. And basically, the number of web servers duplicated in less than 2 years. So it's like a exponentially growing jet. And many people have said that this cannot continue, and we don't see the end. And how large is the web? That's a typical question, a journalist question. They don't understand the answer. So the web is infinite. So you go to a calendar, dynamic calendar, and you can click on next month forever. So it depends on how many pages you want to generate. So then we have a more philosophical question. If we can do that, how many of those pages we have to generate? How many dynamic pages all people will see in their life? How far they will go? Because we can go farther. For example, in a paper we show that with 5 clicks, you get more or less what 98% of the people will ever see. So why going further? for me will be, okay, if I would like to search in something that I will never see. That's a more complicated story. Static pages, nobody knows. The last study of the size of the web, I mean, seed study was maybe 2 years ago, but the real one with a big, large sample was in 1999, when still the web had, say, 300-400 million pages. Now it's completely out of a scale for most cases. So Yahoo sites, there are many of them. These are still the number one in visited pages in the web. Second is Google, third is Microsoft. And I will focus here, so in the social part. So Yahoo, Flickr, Delicious, Answers, and so on. So just to give you an idea of the scale of the problem, these are numbers from last year. We have more than 4 billion page views per day. So you can imagine the number of web servers. 500 million unique users per month. That is near 50% of the internet population. We'll skip here. 12 terabytes of data stored per day. So those are all the web logs. And our goal at the end is to be able to process that in a day. I think we will never do it. And just the last line, 2 billion mail or messenger messages per day. So people communicated online. And well, there are many other statistics. This is just a few of them. So what's social media? So there are many definitions of social media. I think the best definition is by practice. So for example, here are new things that people want to do. I will not read all of them, but basically one is related to search. This one is also to more like discovery. What about things I like? How I stay in touch with people? I need my data anytime, anywhere, and so on. So I think the two main ones are these two. So I want to feel that I'm discovering all the time. So people that like to surf in the web really do it because they're always learning or seeing like something new. And this will be my goal. So doesn't matter where I am. I want to have my data. And I don't want to depend on the device or the connection or whatever. By the way, you can ask me questions anytime because I will touch so many different things that please interrupt me. So we see the web like a play in 3 acts. So we had the first, say, 10 years of the web was like the public web. Then became personal, my web, customized. And now it's becoming our web. So this is the social part. And that's the next step. So what's in the Web 2.0? I think you know that. This is just a list of the main ones like RSS, blogs, voice over IP, pictures, and so on. So some examples, just to make sure that you know the list. So I don't know what's happening here. Okay, this is failing. So messenger groups, friendship networks, Delicious, collaborative bookmarking. And then you have more new things like Flickr, YouTube, pictures, video, and Yahoo Answers, the most newest one. So people answering people. So we don't need to implement a search engine. Let people do it. So why people come online? I think you know more than me about that. So basically to communicate, to be informed, to be entertained, but more to be part of something. I guess it has to do with loneliness, has to do with identity, has to do with many things that I think we don't understand yet. So that's what we call social media or social networks. And how we can use that. So let's take this page from Yahoo Movies. So you have here several movies like Hoodwinked, and here you have questions from Yahoo Answers, from Flickr. So we're using content generated by people. So there we have critics, and here we have what's interesting. This is coming from people, not from a program. So this is about Yahoo Answers, and then you have, for example, pictures from Flickr about the movie, and then you have ratings and reviews also done by people. And at the end, we can have a search in the different social media sites, so like Delicious, Answers, Podcast, Pictures, or the web, if you want that. Of course, the search in the web will be like normal search. So one of the leaders in this world is Korea. So in Korea, they are well ahead of all the rest of the world. In particular, for example, the idea of answers came from Korea. And this is a survey last year about how people use what's called user-generated content. So you generate content and you use it. So here you see, as a publisher, 43% have contributed to content. And what's more impressive, 66% has consumed content created by another person.
Ricardo, what percent of what that this is of
People.
what
Of the people.
of users of
Users.
Yahoo users?
No, this is Korean users.
Korean.
This is a study from the National Intern
Sorry.
Development Agency report.
Korean internet users.
Yes, Korean. All of this is Korean. And next slide also is also Korean.
Okay.
Here it's not like this. So, and what kind of usage? So this 76%. Well, 91% is pictures. Okay. 85% is text. So that means blogs mainly. 30% videos. 28% music. 23% animation, Flash, and nothing others. So basically, those are the 5 kind of things that people is looking there.
So reading a movie review
That will be
counts
text.
as a consumer. Okay.
Yes, that will be text too. So anything that is reading will be text. So blogs, ratings, generated by other people. So not for example, Yahoo generated content. Here is how things have changed on time. So this is it's a bit old. There's no more data available. But this was about 53% in all the users in Korea was the content was provided by the community. So more than 50%. Here are separated by this 4 main portals in Korea. So one is Yahoo Korea, but also you have Naver, Down, and Nate. But basically, I want to hear to all of them. So basically, this is the main usage of people in Korea. And how that is changing. I think there are things that are changing a lot, but we don't notice. And that's the interesting part. So who knows Launchcast? No? I mean, so basically, Launchcast is that you can share the music that you are listening to your friends. And then you can do more things. But what's interesting here is that, for example, there are like 6 billion ratings. You can recommend music. And the most interesting part is that you can share that music. So you become a radio without noticing it. What you listen is like a new radio. And why that's important? Because that changes the whole dynamics of the community. So what's the traditional model we have for content production? So we have maybe one creator, say a blog posting. Then we have people that is expert on reading blogs and then synthesizing that blog in another blog. And they bring people to the main place. And maybe you will have 100 people reading that. If you are very popular, that will be like 120 and then a few thousand. But today, it's completely different. if you are becoming radio, you are consuming and at the same time you are producing. So this pyramid is not longer a pyramid, it's more like 3 almost concentric circles. So consuming is an act of content production. And we will see more examples like this very soon. So another example from blogs. This is a live journal blogs in the US. So how people distribute there. You can see that there is a correlation between density of population and bloggers, but of course, where this was started, you have more users, like California. What about the rest of the world? So you have North America, Europe, and the big countries. Population: China, India, Russia, Brazil, and Australia. Not too much population, but big country too. Also, they speak English. So this correlated. So who are they? This is a study of people in live journal. These are by age. So you will see a gap from 3 to 13. So 1 to 3, the interests are like treats, catnips, daddy, mommy, purring mice, playing, napping, scratching. These are not babies. These are pets. Okay? So some people do blogs for their pets. I don't have even time to do my own blog. That's another matter. What about the last one? More than 57. Death, cheese, photography, cats, poetry. Those are people. And they're worried. So you have all the spectrum. Let's go to another example. Flickr. And I think this is the best example with Yahoo Answers of kind of different ecosystems that you can create. So why is this so popular? So basically for 4 things. So one is clear, user-generated content. I can put pictures. But more important, I can organize them. So tagging, collaborative tagging. I will get back to that point. We can discover things not only because one person decided to organize their pictures, but also because other people decided to tag, maybe with different language and in different way, those same pictures. Third, user-distributed. And fourth, this is very important today, user-developed functionality. So a lot of people have taken the Flickr API and put other things on top. Even businesses. For example, there's a company in London that sells visit cards. Very nice, using Flickr pictures, the public ones, not the... So why this is important? You can search pictures. Today, when you go to, say, any image search in the web, you are not searching inside the content of the image, you are searching around the text context of the image. Why? Because computer vision is hard. So to distinguish a face from, say, a spot that looks like a face is very hard. But there are chances to use people to also solve this problem. This is a very interesting game. This was a PhD thesis in Carnegie Mellon. So it's called information games. So basically it's a game where people is forced to put information, and the only way to win is to say the truth. So it cannot be spammed. So this is called the ESP game, and basically you play with a random player that is also connected to the game, and you have a picture, and the only way to advance to the next round is to put the same tag of the other person. It's a random person, very difficult to cheat. And there are some taboo words. So basically these are words that are so trivial that you will win right away, or that too many people use. So basically every time the game will be more difficult because they will take out what people already agreed there. So they are tagging pictures like playing. And this is very interesting. So for example, Time magazine cover, taboo words, time. And here you see that this person is failing, so it's magazine, red page, corner daily, and the other person didn't put the same words. You just need one to match, to keep going. What's the incentive? Well, like in a game, you can be the top player in the game. But what's important for here? Well, they already have 10 million tags collected just by playing. For example, right now here we have 46 players logged in. If you can get down to 2, then you can cheat, because maybe it's your friend. But otherwise, it's very difficult to cheat. There's another game you can go and try. It's called Peek-a-Boom, and there you have to tag a part of an image. So you start tagging objects inside an image. So even better if you want to search later. So what's the social process behind? Why people have time to tag other people's photography? That's the question I have. I'm a friend of Fernando Flores. I don't know who knows Fernando Flores. He's one of the authors of this book, Understanding Computers and Cognition, with Terry Winograd. And recently he is developing an idea of how blogs develop. What's the life cycle of the blog? And his model has 4 parts. So a blog first looks into the future. So basically, it's people trying to look ahead. And basically, blogs are about that. I mean, what will happen in the future? If you do it well, you can do a warning. This will happen, I don't know, next month, next year. This is global warming. This is a warning. Be careful. Maybe it's too far to be dangerous. Now, if you really do it very well, and you, for example, you put something that will happen tomorrow and that will affect many people, you have commotion. There are many examples of political events that had diffusion through blogs and had commotion. But the most interesting one is the last one. If this becomes a process that you can repeat again, then this becomes an institution. So it's not something abnormal. It's just something that will happen again. And this is related to transparency, to people being able to see what other people do, for example, especially politicians and so on. There's an interesting example. It's a newspaper in a city north of Chile, Arica, in the border with Peru. This was created by Fernando, and it's a collaborative newspaper. So any person can write in this newspaper. So you can think it's a collaborative blog. And if you contribute a lot and people read you a lot, you become like an editor. So you go further in this publisher process. And here has happened many interesting things. For example, one was one of the editors in a car in the main Pan American highway, and saw one of the buses that do the Santiago Arica, is 2,000 kilometers long. And this bus company always said that they never went over the speed limit, never. It was 100 kilometers per hour there, and was like 160. So what he did, well, took the mobile phone, started videotaping the bus, and also the speed limit of his car. Of course, you can see what was the speed, and this created a commotion. So got to the third place. Why? Because that company had an accident, a big accident, like 3 weeks before. So now it was not possible to deny that. So you can, well, it's in Spanish, sorry, but you can go and see that not only you have text, but you have pictures and you have video. So basically this person put the video in YouTube and then was there available for all the community. So everywhere in this social process you will find one distribution, the power law distribution. For people that did economics, that's the Pareto distribution. So basically, or the SIP distribution for linguist people. So basically, a few things are very popular, and many, many things are not popular. And that's good. And maybe I will get that back to that later. So questions? No?
What's the age distribution of blogs? Do you have some idea?
The age.
Do
No.
people over 50 use blogs?
Sorry?
Do people over 50 years old use blogs?
Basically, that you really don't know. No. There was what I showed before was the people that is blogging in LiveJournal, but not the people that reads the blogs. You don't know that. That's very hard. So you only know maybe an IP address, and most of the time they are not logged in. So I would think that people do, but most people will be, I guess, between 15 and 25 years old. So social search. So basically, social search has to do with how to capture knowledge. So let's suppose I want to do a vacation in Chile, and I do this a very damn query. Most people do these queries. So vacation in Chile, you go today and you find maybe 7 million answers. I did this like 2 months ago. What I would like to know, maybe to use the knowledge of some other person like Harold, everything Harold knows about Chile. Maybe that can use his experience. The answer is no results. Because that sentence doesn't appear in the web. So those are the queries that really capture experience, more subjective queries. Opinions. If I say, what's the best restaurant in Oxford? Sure, we can have a very interesting discussion, because it depends on taste, depends on what type of food, depends on time, and so on. So here are some questions that are like that. So today, search engines are not good for that. So the question will be how to capture the people's experience. So how to capture what the person said was the tacit knowledge of people. Tacit knowledge is the knowledge that cannot be transferred easily from one person to another, and usually has a lot of specialization. So let's do a stupid exercise of knowledge. So let's assume that a person that isn't engaged in this user-generated content, for every topic or event, goes and creates 10 pages. So put some pictures on Flickr, do 2 comments on blogs, and so on. And let's assume that that person will do this for 5,000 topics or events in their lifetime. So we have 50,000 pages per person. Suppose all people do it, so 7 billion people. We get, I think in Spanish is 350 billion, but in English will be 350 trillion. Then, if you divide 20 billion pages, is what Google and Yahoo have today, more or less, divided by 350 trillion pages, it's only like less than 0.006% of what people can contribute to the web. So it's nothing. And why this is important? Well, at the beginning, basically, the people that created Yahoo had this dream that could tag all possible websites on Earth, and clearly that cannot be done today. So we have thousands of newsgroups or websites, you can do it. But when you reach millions of websites, you need something else, and there appear PageRank. So the first thing that made Google famous. And basically, you're using the knowledge of the webmasters. So basically, if I put a link here, and if I'm a good site, then the other site will be also good. So it's not the number of links, it's the quality of the website. But today, we're doing badly here. We cannot keep using links, because there's a lot of link spam, content spam, click spam, and that's a topic for a completely different talk. But now we have these trillions of knowledge artifacts. So people doing things in the web. And this may be the next answer. So the next answer will be, let's use the information in Yahoo Answers, in Flickr, in YouTube, in MySpace, to do better search. So basically, that's Yahoo Answers. So democratic search. what people think is the truth, although not always is the truth. Doesn't matter. So better search to people. This is an example of image clustering analysis just using the tags of people. So the input is tags of people here in the right, and the output is different kinds of clusters for the word jaguar. So the top cluster is the car. So that's what's the most important for people. Yeah, it came from the animal, but doesn't matter anymore. Cars are dominant in jaguar. Second is the animal. Third is a musical group. And fourth is a aircraft, a word aircraft. Just using what people wrote. And you can see here the tags used for the clusters. What people use. These are the all-time most popular tags in Flickr. So you can see what are important things in pictures. Well, California, beach, London, Japan, party, wedding, travel, New York City. That's the word. So what are the challenges here? What are the research problems behind? First, how do we use this user-generated content for better search? How we integrate all this implicit knowledge in search? That means what are the ratings and what are the reputation systems? So how we know that an answer from a person is better than an answer from another person? How do we cope with spam? So for example, how many people here are bloggers? Okay. How many of you had a comment from an agent? So 10 seconds after you post something, a program will say, oh, very good posting. But it's a program. So, and for search engines, this is really bad. For example, you can have a program paid by Pepsi clicking Coca-Cola and vice versa. So to use all their advertising budget. So what are the incentive mechanisms for people to do the right thing, like in this information game, to force to use a truthful mechanism? Currently, if you do advertising bidding on the web, it's a truthful mechanism. So basically, you pay what the second person that is bidding is willing to pay. Google and Yahoo use that. And the best strategy there, and this has been proved, is to say the truth. Because always you will pay what the other is willing to pay. You will not pay what you are paying. So that's a very interesting mechanism. You can use it in the web, and then people don't lie. People say, okay, I'm willing to pay so much for an advertising associated to this word. So where else we can leverage the power of the people? So leverage for the people itself. So this is for them, not for us. So I'm doing in time. Bill?
You're fine.
I'm fine. I guess I'm going too fast then. So yeah, I just want to connect this with what we are doing. So this is a page from Yahoo Answers. So this is for the food and drink category. So you have here the top person here, Swirly, level 7. I guess I think it's a woman, but you never know. So this is a pseudonym. So it's 1,071 best answers. This person has time to write. So who is paying that time? We wonder. So there's some kind of stupid questions. So need meal ideas. So not even the grammar is correct.
Jeez.
Or things like, is there a low-fat, low-carb recipe for potato salad? You can ask whatever you want. Also, it's always you can answer no. So this is an answer. I don't think you can read it. I will read it. No, girl, just don't put mayo and eat Joe. This is kind of, I guess, a young person because of the language, but basically, if you avoid the mayo, you get the answer. And someone, the community will be able to vote, so you can vote as best answer, the community. But also the person that posted the question will vote for the best answer. So even if you try to do spam, at the end, the final vote is by the person that posted the question. So here are many interesting problems. So which questions are legitimate? So need meal ideas, go to the garbage. What's the incentive system? How we have people engage in this? How do we validate answers? So the answers are reasonable, come from a person, not from a program. What's the role of the community? So the ecosystem. What's the reputation system? What's the best answer? Something very important, and I think that also people don't realize it, is that when you get a system like this in the web, like Yahoo Answers, or like Flickr, or YouTube, or any other social media, you are creating an information market.
Information.
Market. In the sense that people will exchange information. Maybe not paying with real money, but there is an implicit money behind. And information market implies an economics market. So basically, you are setting the rules of the game. And that's very powerful, because if you set the wrong rules, you get the wrong market, even if it's successful. And people don't realize that one algorithm will create a market, which is not true in real life. So again, here are those four things are these four problems. So the challenges: community of users, social system. I think that's a completely new field of research. We have a special name for that. We will tell you in 1 minute. But I think this is very well related to what you're doing here. Incentives and reputations. That's the economic system. So Yahoo New York has now a very good group on internet economics. So like Michael Schwartz, one of the persons that did all the research on auctioning in the internet, or David Penna, or Ostrovsky, and so on. Poorly phrased, grammatically limited queries, so natural language analysis. Here, it's useful. Improving user experience from history. That's data mining. That's what we do in Barcelona. And what are the sciences there? Well, I already said some. Information retrieval and language processing, microeconomics, data mining, sociology and human-computer interaction. So, for example, the Yahoo Berkeley Lab. And community networks. This is the new field. This is our name for that. So community networks is like all of the above. So how people interact in the web, how evolves a system. So basically, we have a very ambitious goal. If we do 10% of that, that's fine. So be the place that invents the internet's future. And I always like to show this picture. So this is a picture from the lab in Barcelona. So we're very close to the community. We're in the community.
Is that a Statue de France?
Yes. That's the Francia station from our meeting room. So what's the rationale behind web mining? And I will end with this section. So the best way to put it is this book by this New Yorker columnist, James Surowiecki, The Wisdom of Crowds. So basically the bottom line, under the right circumstances, groups are remarkably intelligent. I guess the problem on that sentence is right. You know, you have seen some presidents elected in all the world that don't fit that line. So larger groups of people are smarter than a few. So basically, if we can get all the tacit knowledge that you have, of course, we are smarter than anyone here. That's obvious. The problem is how you do that. So that's the problem. So for example, one question would be how to deploy this in the next generation of social search and media services. We are granted an EU project. We're doing this with the BBC, Glasgow University, Smoke and Mirrors, if you know some of the very best advertising and TV here in UK. And this will be about the next video retrieval generation and will include data mining, so the wisdom of crowds. And this has been always there in web search. So it's not new. Basically, we're changing the name. As many things happens in technology. It's not new, but you change the name to make it new. So anchor text. So anchor text is an example of wisdom of the crowd. So it's a variation of PageRank, in the sense that PageRank uses the links. So links, for example, of these 3 pages to, say, the website of ibm.com. But another thing that you do, not only using the link information, is that the anchor text is associated to the page. So here, for example, IBM, this is the link, will be associated to this page, IBM to this page, and here Big Blue to this page. So if you search for Big Blue, you will find IBM's page, even though Big Blue doesn't appear anywhere on the IBM site. You can go and check it. So this is the basis for Google bombing, although they fixed the algorithm recently. So basically, if you look for many things that clearly are not in a site, you still find that site. The famous one was a miserable failure that go to Bush geography, but they fixed that 2 weeks ago. Too bad. Also, they had these weapons of mass destruction. That was a UK page, and I guess Blair fixed that using a different algorithm. That's the truth. So this is crucial for search ranking. And even before PageRank, why? Alta Vista, one of the first search engines, basically used all the words in the text. That's the wisdom of all people writing. And that's not true only in the web, also in newspapers. I mean, that's the wisdom of people. So this is a classical wisdom. But then you have web publishers. That was PageRank. Then you have social search, annotations. But we have something even more powerful, and that's the sample I want to give to finish, is that we have queries. All people query. And that's not only 70% like in Korea, or maybe 20% in the other countries. All people query and do something after the query. So all user actions. And that's what we're trying to exploit here. So in year 2000, Brother defined basically 3 types of needs in the web. And that's more or less the percentage. So first, the surprising fact. Most people do not use search engines to find information. It was 50% in year 2000. It's about 25% today. So something like blood sugar levels, people doesn't want something so sophisticated. They want to navigate. They want to find the website and start surfing there. So they are looking for a point of entry in the web, not for information. Or they want to interact with the web. So that's called transactional queries. I want to download software. I want to find an MP3 music file. I want to buy a book. I want to reserve a ticket, and so on. I want to interact with the web. I'm not looking for information. I want for a resource. So what you can do? Well, you can classify all pages in the web. This is a demo. You can go to the Yahoo research site. It's called Mindset. Basically, in the demo, we classify all pages in the web. So you can guess which pages are for information, which pages are for transaction. So for example, if you have a form in the page, usually that's a transactional page. If you have a lot of text, usually that will be an informational page. So here we have the query Halloween customs. So what's the intention behind? Well, we don't know. We are trying to know. But suppose you have a dial here, you can use and play with this. On the left, you say shopping. I want to buy a casket. And this is the answer. HalloweenOnly.com, Amazon.com, only e-commerce sites. So there you can go and buy a casket. If we move the dial all the way to the right, so we're doing research, we want information, you get a completely different answer. You get a forum for teachers, Halloween Wikipedia, and so on. For example, a school assignment will be this example. So 3 years ago, Levinson and Rose, by the way, brother Levinson and Rose are all from Yahoo. Brother was in Altavista before. So they improved the taxonomy. Basically, navigational stayed the same, informational had many different cases, and transactional was called resource. So suppose I want to navigate. When that happens, when I'm so lazy, and instead of typing the URL, I search. So because say Yahoo first answer is faster than typing the URL. So give me a home page. Maybe 2 answers. 1 if you do it well. If I want a list of websites with the best information, give me a hub page. I'm using here the concept of Climber, of authorities and hubs, where authorities are like the best pages, like in a library, and hubs are the best pages with links. So give me a page with good links. So the origin of the links. And if I want to resource, well, that's like the mindset example. Please give me a page with resources. If the page doesn't have a query form, something to download, you are in the wrong place. So how we get the intention? We want to get rid of the dial. We don't want to ask people if they are shopping or researching. Well, let's use the implicit knowledge of people. So this is a graph, a small piece of relations between queries using graph mining. So this huge thing here is about traveling. Here is Expedia, and these are all about traveling to Italy. Also these ones, this was done by a student that is Italian. These are about France, these are about Barcelona, and all these queries are related. And you can check it, they're all related to travel. And we can detect that automatically. We have hundreds of million queries per day. So imagine the amount of implicit knowledge here. But these are only relations. We can say that there's an implicit taxonomy here. You can build like a taxonomy of queries, like building taxonomy of short messages in mobile. You will get the real language of young people. So here are interesting things. These are, if you look here, well, you can see here, but these are all the ways to write Yahoo. All possible spelling mistakes. And we can find that they are related automatically, without using any natural language processing, just by using relations in the graph. This is about maps. This is about French-English translation, all possible queries related to that. This is about recipes. This is about BBC News, all the ways to look for BBC News. This is about Firefox. This is about Wikipedia. And Wikipedia, all this clearly is a synonym of free encyclopedia. So we have a dictionary behind there.
How do you establish a link between search terms?
No.
For example, I will not tell all the recipes, but for example, if you do a query, 2 different queries, and both persons click in the same page, you have a connection. And you have many more connections. So basically you have at least 10 different connections, and you exploit those connections. The same question. Good.
I don't think you give another hint.
All right. Not so difficult. There are 10 different connections, you will get 7 easily. The other 3 I will keep it. And then we can do one step further. We can find synonyms. We can find more specific things. So for example, the red connection here are things that are basically equivalent for people. Okay? So people define the equivalence. So for example, People's Bank is equivalent to the site. It's a bank in China. That's correct. Or this one I didn't know. Teachers Federal Credit Union is equivalent to TFCU. So that's the acronym. We can find that automatically by definition. Or for example, AJ, which is a shortcut for Ask Jeeves, another search engine, is equivalent to basically Ask Jeeves with G. It's not spelled correctly, but doesn't matter. They find it, and for people, it's the same. So maybe they have to change their name. So that means people have it simple with that. Or like here, U.S. State Department is synonym of State Department. Or CCAP is equivalent to WCCA. And these are two acronyms of the same thing. That's the Wisconsin Circuit Court Access, and so on. So imagine now a graph that in one day has more than 100 million nodes. And you can get the idea. And you can get these taxonomies. These are earlier work that we did in Chile. So you can see just little pieces. So for example, automatically we can deduce that Fiat is related to these specialized things like Fiat Palio, Fiat 600, Fiat Uno, and Fiat 147, Fiat Bravo, and so on. And there's only one mistake, this Nissan Sentra car, but when you go to the website there, they also serve Fiat. So people was right all the time. This is about used cars. So used cars are related to used automobiles, used parts, new cars, used trucks, and all this automatic. So we have, I call this the web slang. Sorry.
Ricardo, what are the associations on, what is the data on which these associations rest? I mean, is it people clicking these things in
clicking answers.
Oh, this comes from answers?
No, clicking the answers in the search engine.
Okay.
So, okay, you want more info?
Well, no,
it's okay. So basically, but you have the queries, and after that you have what page was clicked.
Yeah.
You have for some of the data how much time people was there. You have.
It's just a different queries to get to the same.
Yes.
The same site.
Yes.
Get it.
So you have to be careful because not always people click because it was the answer. Sometimes people click because it was something new. Even some people click because it was a spam page. But if it's something wrong, people come back right away. So there are many things that you have to put together. But basically the message is that if you put all what's happening in the web together, you have a lot of information.
But not all these graphs would have come from the same data, because your first one was about misspellings of Yahoo. Well, you wouldn't get that way, because the misspellings of Yahoo wouldn't get you to Yahoo until you had built the graph, right? So it couldn't have been derived from data.
No, not exactly, because all major search engines provide spelling corrections.
Yeah, sure.
And people click there.
Yeah.
So basically you say, okay, this misspelling is associated to this correct page. And then you get the right answer.
So you really had that graph, though, from the spelling corrector. That was what?
Part of it. But now we have more.
Okay.
So now we are doing a bootstrap on that. So we're bootstrapping data. Maybe you will see this soon in the site. So to end, so the web has been with us like something of every day, maybe 13 years. And you have the human element, and now you have the social element. And 10 years, this was not true. 10 years, technology was not the mirror of economic, legal, and sociological reality. 10 years ago, the web was about universities, research centers, and so on. Now it's about the world. It's very difficult to prove that, but let me show you something interesting we did. This will feel like more like social data mining. So sorry that this is in Spanish, but basically these are exports in thousands of US dollars from Spain to a country. And these are links from Spain to that country. Okay? Well, you see the correlation, almost perfect.
Internet links.
Internet links.
But that's correlation, not causation. You don't know that one's causing it. There's probably some underlying thing.
No, I think it's not causing. They're one thing. I don't believe in the new economy. It's just one thing.
Yeah.
So people think it's separate, but it's just one thing. I'm not saying who is the cause. I'm saying that they are correlated. And this is for Spain, and I think I have, even for the UK, here, this is the UK. If anyone is interested in this data, I can give it to you. So basically, the correlation in the UK is 0.9 for imports and 0.8 for exports. It's very high. I think it's one of the highest. And my theory will be there is the most developed country who will have tried this analysis. So more developed, this is more true. By the way, we are hosting a web spam challenge in the next web conference in May in Canada. And this could be interesting. We are using the UK web collection of tens of million pages, where we had a lot of people doing spam judgment. So basically, we have a lot of sites that have been judged for spam or not spam. So we have a set of training data, and you can apply, say, machine learning techniques to detect web spamming. In this case, will be either link spamming or content spamming, and you can use this data. But you can use this data for other sources, for other problems. So I'm just saying that this data is public. You can get it, and it's about, I think, 50 million pages. Sorry, no, yeah, 50 million pages, about 100,000 websites in the UK, and we have this judged. So this can be used for other things. I don't know what, but I'm sure you can imagine something.
And where is it?
It's if you look for web spam challenge, you will find the page. It's a page hosted by our lab in Barcelona. Or if you go to the World Wide Web Conference site, you will also find it in the web spam workshop that they will be there. So what's next? Just to finish with some ideas. So in the future, we have to move from explicit demand to active information supply. But you have to do it carefully. For example, you can think that you can be searching all the time, implicitly. But you are writing and you are searching without knowing. And then you click somewhere and you have the search there in the right. But you have to do it in a non-intrusive way. So it shouldn't be like this, Windows help, which is really annoying. So that's why I use Linux, except for presentations. So not 100% compatible yet. So this is the future, and basically we're working on this. And maybe that's Web 3.0. I don't know if you read this article in the New York Times with this title. So very good title. The content was not so good. So we are maybe in Web 2.0 beta. Some people are thinking on Web 3.0. What will be my interpretation of Web 3.0? Well, people want to get tasks done. So something like, where to go for an original holiday with 1,000 euros, or say 1,000 pounds? Very hard question, no? Especially for a student. So we have to take into account the context of the task. How people do it today? Well, people do it disaggregating the search. Doing something like this. I want to book a vacation in Tuscany, in Italy, north of Rome. And they first use Google to search the place, then Expedia to book a trip, then Task-a-Dream to search for hotel, and then maybe 6 to rent a car. We want to delete all that. If we can delete the companies, better. That's a joke. So that's the final goal. More questions? Yes.
Getting tasks done. Presumably there's kind of long literature in computer science stuff about how people get tasks done. And I wonder if there's anything of the past that has, from the sort of 70s, 80s, 90s, that has not been applied to the web yet, and which you think might sort of be used to be applied?
I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that. I come by chance. I come from the algorithms community, not from the AI community. I'm sure Harold has an answer for that. You can ask Harold later. Yes.
In one of your earlier slides, you showed us the number of new users
Yes.
accessing the internet every month, and it's very large.
In Yahoo, yes.
In Yahoo.
Not in all the world, yes. But like 1 million email accounts per day, for example.
Right.
Is the largest mail service in the world.
But there are a lot of new users coming out all the time.
Yeah, my estimation is about 60 million per year, at least.
Right, okay. So my question really is, what happens for these new users with what seem to be much more complex and much more opaque kinds of search? How easy is it going to be for inexperienced users to deal with this? And do you envisage this replacing what Yahoo has traditionally done, which was a very clear sort of hierarchical system that I think was well understood by beginners?
Yeah.
Do you see them coexisting, or do you see this taking over?
No, I think all these things must coexist. So if you want, you can still use the directory. What happens is that, for example, the Yahoo front page is user-driven. So basically, what's there is what people use. And people is not using the taxonomy. New users are not English-speaking users today in the web. So really, maybe it's very easy for them if they're in their own language. And people do that, go to the directory and look for their own language. I would love to videotape a person going first time to a search engine. So there will be an incredible experience of how to get it right. No?
Beat the system by constantly reinventing a better way of doing things. I wasted loads of time doing that.
Well, the person in charge in Yahoo of that a few months ago is Elizabeth Churchill, which has a PhD in psychology. She worked in Xerox PARC before, so we know that, and we are also hiring people from that field. So basically, we're doing things that no other company is doing, like hiring economic people, psychology people. So this is an interdisciplinary world, like here. It's not a computer scientist world.
I have a question about your informational, navigational, and transactional.
Yeah.
Because it seems that if you look at the internet providers in Britain, things sell more and more because you have unlimited downloads. And so I've heard it projected that an awful lot of computer time is spent, at least, for downloading. But you have quite a small percentage as transactional. Now, is it because you're measuring it by page accessed rather than by time?
No, yeah, this is by query.
By
So
query.
this is measured by query. But be careful, this is measured by queries in the search engine. A lot of downloading is done by peer-to-peer networks that are not counted here, because those are underground, and that's the idea. So you don't know what's happening there.
But some is software downloading as well, but probably you're right. The
Yeah, but,
majority it's not.
I mean, basically you search when you don't find it in your peer-to-peer network. So it's a two-step route. No? You first you ask a friend, no? I mean, this is the route. No? Oh, you don't have it. Okay, let's look at whatever. I will not publicize any of the peer-to-peer networks. One. And then you don't find it. Okay, let's go to the web. So again, I mean, the content there is the wisdom of the crowds too. I mean, many times when I have a problem in a computer, the first thing I see is someone else had the problem, and usually there is a solution. So it's not very effective because you have a lot of people working for the same thing at the same time. So like open source development, but it's very efficient because you find the answer. So it's a kind of paradox. It's not effective because you're wasting time of many people, but it's very, very efficient. Sorry, it's the other way. Sorry, it's not efficient, very effective. I always get confused with the Spanish words. So it's not efficient, but very effective.
Completely frivolous observation.
Okay.
I've got on my show at home a book called Extraordinary Popular Delusions. And it's a Victorian, big seller in Victorian times. And there's that whole literary sociology tradition from Le Bon to Canetti that crowds were wicked. Individuals were moral and crowds were wicked.
Okay.
And the Extraordinary Popular Delusions book is that crowds are stupid. So we've got this wonderful switcheroo now that crowds aren't stupid, crowds are clever. But I'm just wondering if there'll be another switcheroo later that crowds aren't wicked, they're good. And I mean,
We have to put it to a vote.
What?
We'd have to put it to a vote.
That's what it vote. That's right. It's an amazing switcheroo, though, isn't it? That the belief in the past always was that groups were stupid.
Yeah, I think that's why I said the key word is right.
Yeah.
Under the right circumstances, you have wisdom.
Yeah.
And this person in this book captured the ones that he was able to find. But of course, there are many more examples of a stupid crowd. And we can even, well, every word is an example, I think, of stupid crowd. So I'm not being so optimistic. So basically here you have a lot of noise, but when you add all these relations, you find, and you capture, say, from this graph I show, only 0.001%, that's huge. So it's basically this large number approach.
Just more specifically on that, I mean, your Yahoo answers, which I haven't looked at enough, I should go and look at it now, but I mean, is it fair to say that what you're doing there is, you're doing what Ask Jeeves failed to do? I mean, Ask Jeeves said they'd do answers, and they gave up because they couldn't generate the labour power to do it.
Right.
So you're doing bottom-up what Jeeves was doing top-down?
In some sense, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Google Answers, their team with their style of doing things, they disbanded it, right?
Yeah, because that was paid. So people was not paying for that. Especially if you can get it for free on a different search engine.
I was just wondering if you thought the financial crowds were stupid, because the Yahoo share price has suffered in the last sort of year or so, and how that relates to what you're going to do to convince them that they're either a herd, so the conditions are wrong, or that Yahoo can change.
That's a good question. I'm not a Wall Street expert. I don't think anyone understands the market, because, for example, Yahoo has improved over all the expectations the last 2 years. However, not as much as the improvement that Google did. Basically, this is by comparison, not by absolute.
I guess my slightly more serious question is, what do you think Yahoo will stand for?
Okay.
Which is where they're struggling to.
I think social media will make a difference, because basically, behind social media, basically it's the number of users and visits that you have, and we have more. So we have an advantage there. We have more social search, social media sites. And also, research is new. Research only has 1.5 years old, and I think we're making a difference. And you will see this year. So I hope that the stock market will recognize that and already increased. I mean, if you saw after Panama was launched, was an increase on the stock in January. So that will change.
The Facebook's had a tremendous impact on the student community in Oxford. I think over 95% of students have signed up over the last year or two. And I know Yahoo have been in talks to buy them. How do you see that impacting student communities if Yahoo were to buy Facebook? And also, how do you see that impacting Yahoo having that many users just coming in from Facebook?
I will have a more generic answer, because I'm very far from the commercial part. I mean, the good thing about research is we are very far from the day-to-day life, and I like that. Basically, any site that has many users will improve this. You have more data and more implicit knowledge and particular, say, segment of the population and so on. One of the things that Google got with YouTube was not only a new place to put advertising, but also went from third place to second place in the number of visits. So the previous one was Microsoft. So it's not only the content, it's also the popularity. And that impacts any internet business. One problem with business model in internet is that they are not for many, they are for a few. So, and that's part of the economics that I think people will have to do some research on that. So why we have only, say, 3 major search engines? Why we have only 2 or 3 major student sites? So it has to do with the power law, has to do with how people behave in front of any social process. But I don't know the answer of that. So this was there.
Yeah, I just want to come back to the thing that Yorick raised about. I mean, I think you used the words crowds and the word community, and I think I'm not sure how appropriate community is at all to the things that you presented, because I think what you presented is ways for searching and aggregating results from the whole of the web or from Yahoo users, which, I mean, I think to turn it into a question, I mean, I think a lot of the ways in which people find information, or increasingly have to find information, is through some of the things you said, such as the legitimacy and the authority of that information. And to my mind, there's a kind of tension there between, aggregating and looking at the whole web, whether the crowds are stupid or smart, and kind of identifying that crowd or that community from which you really want authoritative answers. And right. I didn't really see you resolve that tension, especially in the last part of your talk, because it seems to me that all these aggregations of different concepts and being able to find concepts through that doesn't really come around the problem that most people will use search engines and they will put in the concept and be led to wherever they're led to.
Because they're stupid, no?
Well,
I think it's related to Jory's question. Maybe I was not clear because, for example, I didn't have time to mention why we are doing this. So, for example, one of the things we want to do is to do very good query recommendation. So some person does a very stupid query, like one word, and we can give them a very smart 10 3-word query. And that will be closer to the task. So that people, the 3-word query people, knew more about what they were looking for than this person that was just exploring the field. So that's one of the answers. It's true that this is a crowd, but this is the largest community. It's not as glue as, say, a student community, but it's a community. Now we want to capture things that stand out, not everything. As I said, if we get only 0.0001% of the relations, but stand out, I mean large numbers, that's a lot of information. So this is maybe like a brute force approach in the sense of the scale, but if you have, say, 1 billion queries per month, to say a number, it's even larger, and you get just 100,000 relations per month, that's a lot. And you can bootstrap that in every query that people do. We did a different study. I think this will be of your interest. We did a different study where I had the following theory. So how much of the new content of the web is from people that do a search on the web, cut and paste 3-4 top answers, change the author name or whatever, and publish it in the web. So how much of the content is biased by the ranking of search engines? And we found that in Chile, it's about 5%. And that's scary, because if we're not doing the ranking well, we're generating what's popular. Now, I believe that some crowds are stupid. So for example, take TV popularity in any place in the world, reality shows. I think sometimes you have to give people what they want, even if it's not the best thing for them. It's their decision. No? If we can change that, I would like to, but I don't know how. So in the web also we have the same problem. The web is another communication media, popularity is dominant, but we are focusing on the tail of the distribution. So the smart queries come from there. And we can relate those queries to dumb queries. Not stupid, maybe ignorant queries. People that don't know how to search, not that they don't have the same needs. And we are trying to bootstrap the tail distribution into the main distribution. The good thing is that what the main part of the distribution has in volume, the tail has it in length. And that's very good. Because you have about 50% of the queries are queries that are unique. One person searching for that.
Your comment reminded me of there was a story in the US newspaper which was picked up by 2 newspapers here. They almost copied the articles. It happens all the time. But it reminds me that you mentioned that all the growth is in foreign languages, or non-English.
Mainly, yes.
A lot. And I mean, I speak more than one language, and when you want to render a result, you can't always get it mixed. So, but there must be an awful lot of data. There's a barrier to communication on the way, which millions more people arriving who aren't going to be able to access the data. How is that transfer going into your research? Because most of the stats, not all of it, is being around the bigger web.
So some of the relations are hidden here, and what I show are translations. So we can also detect translations automatically, and we can try to use that to get, say, do you want the answer in French, and you get Spanish and so on.
But the duplication that must go on, the amount of data that doesn't get represented in English, is that something that interests you at all?
Yes, of course. We want to be uniform in the web.
Yeah.
So, and it's very hard because, for example, network connections are not uniform in the world. So.
I'm sorry to go back to this. I'm trying to answer my earlier question. You just talked about reality shows, which always crop up, obviously. And I suddenly realised when you said that the current thing we had here, I didn't reach you in Spain, I don't suppose, was in the Big Brother house, where people vote people out. An extraordinary thing was...
It's also happening in Spain.
Well, I'm sure.
We
had a particular fuss here about somebody on the show was behaving in some sense that was believed to be socially immoral. And the extraordinary thing was that the immoral people all got voted out, and the person who most people thought was the good person won. Now, this is very odd. This was, I'm sorry, answering the earlier question about crowds being right or wrong and crowds being wicked or good. And it was an extraordinary demonstration because in this huge number of votes, it seems like everybody voted for the politically correct, morally correct answer. And that was very bizarre.
Yeah, but I think that they were smart. I know what you were talking about, so I
was
think
very surprised by the answer.
that was the correct answer.
I thought they'd let the bad person win, and they didn't. No.
Yeah, so, okay, we have another example of a good crowd.
I mean, rather than thinking about the difference between crowds and communities, because I took it that the speaker, I think he's not here anymore, but was asking about what would happen if Yahoo took over Facebook, and was really about, do people not trust Yahoo in the way that they would trust something that seems to be genuinely based on a community that's a real community that they know about? So people kind of find it a bit problematic, the idea that they're being told they're part of a community when in fact run by a company, in the way that AOL claimed to have a community. But at the same time, it's very obvious from what you showed us that people do have social purposes. And you raised a question that you didn't actually answer about why strangers will bother spending all their time answering questions from other strangers. Why are they doing it? What's their motivation? But in the example you showed us, it wasn't just an answer to a question which was an extremely good answer. It was also social communication. It was a very nice answer. It was funny, it was friendly, it did a lot of other stuff as well. So, I mean, maybe it's not important to ask how do we incentivize people, because they already have incentives. You know, altruism is an incentive. People enjoy what they do. They get a good feeling from it. And it may be that we need to kind of find a way to hang on to all of that, because that's something that people seem to value enormously.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, trust is one of the main powers of the web. So, for example, the same comment on Facebook is true for Flickr, when changed from 10 people to Yahoo, or for YouTube, when changed from 25 people to Google. So, can we keep that trust? And up to now, I think it's easier than we think. So there the crowd is not so smart maybe. But we are trying to be very trustful. So for example, if you go for and you read, not too many people do, the terms of use of every big site, you will see, I mean, in Yahoo there are groups called the paranoids. It's only to make sure that every people is doing the right thing. And they're very tough. So for example, we are doing query mining, but we don't even look from what IP that query came. We are not interested in that, because we are not trying to personalize the search. We are trying to personalize the task. So for all people that wanted to go to travel in Italy, we are trying to improve that user experience, which is not the same of trying to personalize your experience and improve it. And there's one reason to do that. You have more data if you take a group of people than you take one person. So, but your question reminded me this example. I have these examples from Google Zeitgeist. These are from 2002. Sorry, this is a slide in Spanish. But these are things that you can also do with queries. And I was also looking at. So basically, social behavior in queries. So this is the query Iraq, year 2002. And you see a peak on September 11, 2002. So 1 year after. So question, what is all these other people doing before that? All the journalists writing for that day? So you see that decreases after that. These are queries to famous people. You have Eminem, Jennifer Lopez, Shakira in yellow, David Beckham in green, and Ronaldo in light blue. So you see that women are more popular than men. And if you check the newspapers, the men are only popular when they have a problem with their women. And it's true, it's not a sexist comment, it's just a fact. So, yeah. And Eminem is very popular at the end because they were nominated to MTV Awards. So you can see that these are related to what is happening. And this is the best because here you see time. So this query was very popular in Spain in June of 2002, then was popular in June and July in Italy, then a bit in the USA in September, or August and September, then became very popular in October in Germany, then became at the end, December, popular in the UK and the USA. And maybe later in the UK because the Spice Girls don't like this query. The query is Las Ketchup. So you know Las Ketchup? ACRG? You ever danced that? ACRG? No? I cannot dance it here. But this was a very popular song in 2002 in Europe. And you see how that song moved through the young population. So you see here a social pattern. And you see how from Spain closest culture, Italy. So next culture, USA, the Latin population, and then Germany, and then USA, UK. So the question is why France is not there.
Let's say the name again, please.
Las Ketchup is a music group. Bill.
There's, related to this, there's a long tradition of media research on agenda setting, where essentially public perceptions of issues are followed the media. So, I mean, literally, and it'd be very interesting to compare these agenda setting sort of to not only to the media, whether it's leading or lagging behind media.
Right.
But, yeah.
There is a very interesting result on, Yahoo did a game about 4 years ago called the Buzzword game. Basically it was to predict trends in the stock market and new things. So, for example, sometimes that was ahead of media. So the queries were ahead of media. So some people, you see that knew about the topic, and then when it became public, I mean, everybody asked for that. So let's say a new iPod. So how, I mean, I think blogs are part of that. So blogs are ahead a few days of media. Sometimes just by rumors, but that's enough. And you know, at least in Spanish we say that rumors is half the truth. So for some reason they happen.
Yeah, we probably should end up, but if I could ask one last one. Can you turn these tools, well, this is probably really naive, but can you turn these tools back on the user? I mean, I think we need to start rating users. That is, if I started rating what are they called? Well, anyway, for example, if you look at peer review of journals or academic peer review, you begin to know that there are some bad reviewers or that people,
right.
So you start discounting them. And you've already said spammers, you want to discount their...
The reputation system, I said. Reputation system.
We need to we have to have automatic ratings, not just of the content producers, whether they're but the people who are rating.
Right.
If we could make that automatic, then we'd start discounting noise.
Well, that's what we are doing with spam
right.
detection, and also that's what we are doing in Yahoo Answers. So we want to rate the person that does the rating, also the person that answers. So we are rating all the process, all the people involved in every part of the process. We are trying to.
Okay.
That's the reputation system.
Got you.
So, but that's interesting research that has to do with sociology. There is computer science, maybe psychology. So there's several fields involved there.
See, if users know they're getting rated,
yes,
that's an interesting dynamic too.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
a problem for peer reviewers as well, if they're not. No, referees rather.
Well, referees know it.
No, they're blind. No, they're hidden.
Well, but editors, they must know that editors, they may not get another paper to review from a journal, or they, you know.
Well, I had a friend that's the editor of a journal, and he has a very interesting policy that basically, if you're a good and fast reviewer, your paper will go to a good and fast reviewer. you are a slow and bad reviewer, your paper will go to a slow bad reviewer. So you match community.
No, if you're a good and fast reviewer, you get another paper to review.
So that's what I'm saying. So you have to balance this to be good, but not that good, and to be reasonably fast, but not that fast, because then you get more work. But this was interesting because basically bad reviews in that journal went away. Because people that didn't do good review never receive an answer. And people don't want that. So that's the right incentive. You're pushing people to do the right thing. And that's, I think there are many, this is not so difficult after you know it. But before it's not trivial. So what's the right system?
Okay.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much.